Support us with a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the buzzer. Persecution by the Quraysh grew fiercer every day, and the sufferings of the Prophet's disciples became unbearable. He had heard of the righteousness, tolerance, and hospitality of the neighboring Christian king of Abyssinia. He recommended such of his companions who were without protection to seek refuge in the kingdom of that pious king, al-Najashi, Negus. Some 15 of the unprotected adherents of Islam promptly availed themselves of the advice and sailed to Abyssinia. Here they met with a very kind reception from the Negus. This is called the first hijrah, migration, in the history of Islam, and occurred in the 5th year of the Prophet Muhammad's mission, AD 615. These emigrants were soon followed by many of their fellow sufferers until the number reached 83 men and 18 women. The hostile Quraysh, furious at the escape of their victims, sent deputies to the king of Abyssinia to request him to deliver up the refugees, that they might be put to death for adjuring their old religion and embracing a new one. The king summoned the poor fugitives and inquired of them what was the religion, which they had adopted in preference to their old faith. Jafar, son of Abu Talib and brother of Ali, acted as spokesman for the exiles. He spoke thus: "O king, we were plunged in the depth of ignorance and barbarism. We adored idols. We lived in unchastity, and we ate dead bodies, and we spoke abomination. We disregarded every feeling of humanity and sense of duty towards our neighbors. And we knew no law but that of the strong, when Allah raised among us a man of whose birth, truthfulness, honesty, and purity we were aware. He called us to profess the unity of Allah and taught us to associate nothing with him. He forbade us the worship of idols and enjoined us to speak the truth, to be faithful to our trusts, to be merciful and to aware. Regard the rights of neighbors. He forbade us to speak evil of the worship of Allah, and not to return to the worship of idols of woos and stone, and to abstain from evil, to offer prayers, to give alms, to observe the fast. We have believed in him. We have accepted his teachings and his injunctions to worship Allah alone and to associate nothing with him. Hence our people have persecuted us, trying to make us forego the worship of Allah and return to the worship of idols of wood and stone and other abominations. They have tortured us and injured us until, finding no safety among them, we have come to your kingdom trusting you will give us protection against their persecution." After hearing the above speech, the hospitable king ordered the deputies to return to their people in safety and not to interfere with their fugitives. Thus, the emigrants passed the period of exile in peace and comfort. While the followers of the Prophet sought safety in foreign lands against the persecution of their people, he continued his warnings to the Quraysh more strenuously than ever. Again they came to him with offers of riches and honor, which he firmly and utterly refused. But they mocked at him and urged him for miracles to prove his mission. He used to answer, "Allah has not sent me to work wonders. He has sent me to preach to you." Thus, disclaiming all power of wonder working, the Prophet ever rested the truth of his divine mission upon his wise teachings. He addressed himself to the inner consciousness of man, to his common sense and to his own better judgment. "Say, O Muhammad, I am only a human being like you. It is inspired in me that your Ilah, God, is one law, God, Allah. Therefore take the straight path to him with true faith, Islamic monotheism, and obedience to him and seek forgiveness of him. And woe to al-mushrikeen, polytheists, pagans, idolaters, and disbelievers in the oneness of Allah, etc., those who worship others along with Allah, or set up rivals or partners to Allah, etc." Chach 41:6, Quran. Despite all the exhortation of the Prophet, the Quraysh persisted in asking him for a sign. They insisted that unless some sign be sent down to him from his Lord, they would not believe. The disbelievers used to ask, "Why has Muhammad not been sent with miracles like previous prophets?" The prophet replied, "Because miracles had proved inadequate to convince. Noah was sent with signs, and with what effect? Where was the lost tribe of Thamud? They had refused to receive the preaching of the prophet Salih, unless he showed them a sign and caused the rock to bring forth a living camel. He did what they asked. In scorn, they cut the camel's feet, and then, daring the prophet to fulfill his threats of judgment, were found dead in their beds the next morning, stricken by the angel of the Lord. There are some 17 places in the Quran in which the Prophet Muhammad is challenged to work a sign, and he answered them all to the same or similar effect. Allah has the power of working miracles, and has not been believed. There were greater miracles in nature than any which could be wrought outside of it, and the Quran itself was a great, everlasting miracle. The Quran the Prophet used to assert to the disbelievers is a book of blessings which is a warning for the whole world. It is a complete guidance and explains everything necessary. It is a reminder of what is imprinted on human nature and is free from every discrepancy and from error and falsehood. It is a book of true guidance and a light to all. As to the sacred idols, so much honored and esteemed by the pagan Arabs, the Prophet openly recited, "They are but names which you have named you and your fathers, for which Allah has sent down no authority." Ch. 53:23 Quran. When the Prophet thus spoke reproachfully of the sacred gods of the Quraysh, the latter redoubled their persecution. But the Prophet nevertheless continued his preaching, undaunted by the hostility of his enemies, or by their bitter persecution of him. And despite all opposition and increased persecution, the new faith gained ground. The national fair at Okad, near Mecca, attracted many desert Bedouins and trading citizens of distant towns. These listened to the teachings of the Prophet, to his admonitions, and to his denunciations of their sacred idols and of their superstitions. They carried back all that they had heard to their distant homes, and thus the advent of the Prophet was made known to almost all parts of the peninsula.